Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of my show tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about the University of South Florida football and my record prediction for them and my thoughts on their new coach and who their quarterback's going to be and all that. And I'm also going to give my way too early SEC standings prediction. Let's get right into it. So here's my thoughts on umpiring and the MLB right now. I personally, I don't like how some umpires have a quick leash for throwing out players. Example, last night I was watching the Rays in Oakland A's game, and the Rays had Isaac Paredes was at the plate for the Rays, and he got rung up on strikes, and he's the most quiet, calm guy in baseball. He doesn't argue. He doesn't get blow a fuse and get mad very much. And I'm going to name the umpire, the home plate umpire from last night's game for the Rays and A's. It was Manny Gonzalez. And if you go look up the video, you'll see what my issue is with him getting thrown out. From what I heard from the Rays announcers, I guess he said that the pitch was a ball, which if you look at the replay, it was. And Manny Gonzalez said, you say anything else, you're not going to see the end of this at bat. You're not going to see the end of the at bat. And I guess, supposedly, he said the magic words and got himself tossed out of the game. And so, personally, I think there's certain umpires that do have a longer leash when it comes to throwing guys out of games, ejecting them. But Manny Gonzalez, you need to lighten up a little bit. You need to stop being so soft when it comes to throwing guys out of the game, especially Isaac Paredes. He's one of the most calm, cool, and collective guys in the MLB. He doesn't argue balls and strikes a lot. And the fact that you had to throw him out was a joke. Now on to the next topic. We're going to talk. Now let's get to Ohio State. First, I'm going to give the prediction for Ohio State's record this year. I think Ohio State's going to go 11-1. And that only loss will be to Maryland. It will not be to Michigan. It will be to Maryland. We always have issues with Maryland. And I think we will beat everybody but Maryland. I know there's people saying that we won't beat Penn State and we won't beat Michigan. But I think we beat both. We get our revenge on Michigan for the last 2 years. In 11-1, we win the Big Ten East. We win the Big Ten championship and go on to the playoff and get our revenge on Georgia, because we were cheated out of winning the national championship last year with a bad call by the officiating crew that was targeting. If you go back and you watch the game and you see that specific play in the end zone on Marvin Harrison Jr., that was targeting. And I don't care what other people say about it, that was targeting. The next one, now we're going to talk about USF and who I think their QB will be. I think they're going to go 6-6, give or take. Maybe win the conference, depending on how they play. And I think their quarterback's going to end up being Gary Bohannon. And I know I skipped Ohio State, but I think Ohio State's QB is going to be Kyle McCord. Even though I want it to be Devin Brown, but I don't think it's going to. I think he's going to sit a year and wait his turn. And now let's get over to my way too early SEC standings prediction, part 1. At number 14, I have Vanderbilt. They have not been good in football. I don't care who their coach is. They have not been good in football at all. And I just don't see them getting any better. And personally, honestly, they need to leave the SEC and go to a different conference, maybe the AAC, and compete there because you can compete in that conference. Moving on to number 13, I got Auburn. I don't think Auburn's going to compete with the top of the SEC, which you'll see in the rest of my rankings and another couple of videos. But I don't think Auburn doesn't really have a QB. They have a new head coach, so they can finish 13, or if they play right, if they play good enough, they can finish higher than 13. But this is where I'm putting them right now before the season because we don't know how anyone's going to play. Number 12, I got Florida. And you'll see the reason why I have them here in a little bit. It's not to do with, I think they have a bright future, but I don't know if it's with their coach that they have right now because they have uncertainties at quarterback. But Billy Napier knows how to produce good QBs. But I just don't see where Florida finishes higher than this range, 12, 11, or 10 in the SEC with a new QB. Number 11 is Missouri. And I'm sorry, but Missouri fans, you're not going to like me for this because I don't think Missouri is finishing anywhere near the top of the SEC because they don't have a good QB. Their coach is, I know he just got an extension, but in my opinion, he's not that good. And that's why I just done on Missouri. Number 10, Ole Miss. And I don't think Ole Miss is going to, same thing. This whole bucket of teams in the SEC, the only one I could see finish higher than where I'm putting them is Ole Miss. Because they have a good coach. They have Lane Kiffin. The Lane Train, as I call him. And he's a really good coach. And I could see them finishing inside at the end of the season, I'm going to do this again. And I could see them finishing higher than where I put them in the preseason before the season started. And that's where I put them right now. They do have a good quarterback at Jackson Dart, but that's what I'll leave it at. Now let's go to then I told you this is another thing I was doing. Here's 3 more coaches, in my opinion, that are on the hot seat. These first 2, Justin Wilcox from University of Cal, they stink in football. I'm sorry if nobody agree. If you don't want to like me after saying that, you don't have to because it's just my opinion. And I feel like they won't win their conference. They'll finish in the bottom third. And the second one on this in this branch of three, along with Justin Wilcox on this one, is Billy Napier of Florida. I told you I was going to tell you why they're not going to finish at the top of the SEC. Billy Napier is a good coach, but he's on the hot seat because they haven't done anything since he's been there. And that's what I think. Number two is Butch Jones from Arkansas State and Dana Holgorsen from Houston. Butch Jones at Arkansas State, the reason I think he might get fired is because they don't win enough games there. And then there's the same reason I think that Dana Holgorsen might get fired at Houston is because they're joining a new conference. If they don't win enough games, they might think, oh, we need to dip and we need to change coaches immediately and get a new breed in here. And basically that's that. And number one is so obvious. It's Neal Brown. If he didn't have a big buyout, West Virginia would have already fired him because they were terrible last year. The only reason he's still there is because West Virginia didn't want to pay his buyout to buy him out. And they didn't want to pay his buyout to buy him out and let him go coach somewhere else. And I've got two honorable mentions for coaches I think could get a boot if their team doesn't do good this year. Give me a couple seconds. One, here's my two honorable mentions. One, Tom Allen from Indiana, because I think they'll compete, but I don't think they'll win the Big Ten because they're in the same division of the Big Ten as Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, Michigan, Maryland. And I think all those teams might finish in front of them in the Big Ten. And then their athletic director says, I'm sorry, but you're not cutting it. And we got to get rid of you and bring somebody else in. And then the last one on my honorable mention is Eli Drinkowitz at Missouri. They're in the SEC. You saw where I had them ranked in my way too early SEC rankings. And I don't see a realm of possibility where they either finish in the top 10 or finish within the top 5 of the SEC. And that's just what I think. Thank you. That's the show for tonight. Please like and subscribe. And thank you. I will be back tomorrow morning at 10:30.